Before starting, I'd like to wish you all a very happy Teachers' Day. Teachers' Day was celebrated in India just yesterday, and the ITG is an effort to empower the teachers. So I'd like to congratulate all of you for being a teacher. So to start with, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce ITG. So the ITG is an effort to bring together stakeholders like school owners, principals, teachers, all those who are connected with the education ecosystem, and to empower them and to create a platform to advocate and enhance the quality of education in India by empowering the teachers. So this is ITG. I have with me the co-founders of ITG, Mrs. Jasmeet Arora, Mr. Vinod Manu, and Mrs. Neeti Nagarkar. Just say hi to everybody, please.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Jasmeet Arora. Who else, ma'am?
So this is Jasmeet Arora. Then we have Neeti Nagarkar.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. I hope we have a wonderful session together today.
We request all of you all to keep your mics on mute from here onwards. So we give opportunities to our panelists to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So today's conversation, we are having leadership conversation. We are having about the importance of empowering teachers. So joining us are the panelists, Ms. Purnima Contractor, Dr. Sujata Bhan, Mrs. Navjot Kaur Johal, Mrs. Geeta Punjabi, Mrs. Fatima Agarkar, and Mrs. Sunita Krishnan. So I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce all the panel members to you. So first we have Mrs. Purnima Contractor. She is the president of Association of Early Childhood and Childhood Education and Development, that is AECED Mumbai. She is the founder of Diddleberry Creative Learning Solutions. Principal of Greenfields Preschool Mumbai. She is the creator of Melody Times 1 and 2, which is a compilation of songs for children which their parents and teachers can use. She is a trustee of Vivekanand Youth Forum, which is an NGO, and she has over 4 decades of experience of working with children from all strata of the society. So I welcome Purnima ma'am to be a part of this panel. Next, we have Dr. Sujata Bhan, who is the professor and head of the Department of Special Needs at SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. She has 27 years of experience in teaching, research, and extension of work in the department. She is also an expert member of various committees of government organizations, and she is also a reviewer of many scientific journals. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Sujata Bhan on the panel.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mrs. Navjot Kaur Johal from UK. So she has 25 years of experience in UK charity and finance management governance by working with numerous NGOs. She is a board member of Youth Bank International, Create International, and Sisters of Christian Retreat, and the founding director of Anandeshwar School that is located in Nurmahal, Jalandhar. So I'd like to welcome ma'am for this conversation today.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Next, we have Mrs. Geeta Punjabi. She is the founder of Theo Kids and Theo Solutions Private Limited, and also the founder of SICK, that is an organization to empower educators again. She has helped to set up about 200 schools, and she develops curriculum based on EYFS, Finnish phenomena, Montessori, and many more pedagogies. So I'd like to welcome Geeta ma'am for this discussion. Next, we have Mrs. Fatima Agarkar, founder of Agarkar Center of Excellence. She is a veteran with 3 education startups, an award-winning educator, and a vivid blogger, a parenting expert. She has been recognized by Education World as one of the top 50 Indian leaders who can revive education. She has a passion of education and has an experience of about 20 years in the field. And lastly, we have Mrs. Sunita Krishnan on the panel. She is from Toronto, Canada. She is the president of Town Childcare Inc., operating childcare centers in Toronto, Canada for the past 30 years. And she is also the founder of Future Canadian Consultancy Services to empower entrepreneurs. So I welcome Sunita ma'am for this discussion. So I'd like to ask Purnima ma'am to start with the conversation for today, giving her perspective about the importance of empowering teachers from the perspective of an association owner of association president of preschool teachers or early childhood development. So over to you, Purnima ma'am.
Thank you. Please bear with me. I'm technologically challenged. So, well, I start with Well, you've all heard about Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google. And you've all seen that video where he goes to meet his teacher, Molly Abraham. Well, it so happened that it was not Sundar Pichai, but it was, 1 minute, something has happened here. Yeah, it is Ganesh Kohli. And Ganesh Kohli happens to be the CEO of IC3. Well, Ganesh Kohli is a very, very successful counselor and founder of IC3. And I'm sure Sundar Pichai also must have a story to tell, so a similar story to tell. Ganesh Kohli, he talks about being a weak student in his school days and how one Narula teacher called him useless. But when he was in the 7th grade, he developed interest in maths only because of his maths teacher, Molly Abraham. And watching her in the class, how she impacted him and other children with her compassion and her understanding, helping the weaker ones, he decided that he too would one day become a teacher. His mother, who incidentally was a teacher herself, a Hindi teacher, and she said, "Beta, bhuke mar jaoge." Well, he went on to prove that not only did he die of hunger, but he became one of the very, very successful persons worldwide. After 26 years, he went to meet his Molly Abraham to thank her. And of course, it was a very emotional moment. But it set me thinking, why would a very successful man go looking for his 7th standard maths teacher? Why? What made people like Molly Abraham and the likes of her such influencers? Because she was an empowered teacher? Sometimes I wonder, what would this world be if people truly loved what they do? I mean, as a career. And what would this education look like if teachers were really passionate about their role as leaders, as role models, as educators, as influencers? To have a world and a community that fosters growth, leadership, compassion, integrity, and positivity, of course, we would need people who value leadership, who have compassion, who have integrity, and are positive themselves. Well, as we've seen in the case of Ganesh Kohli, that the teacher is the greatest asset a society can have. The teacher plays an enormous role in the lives of the students. She or he has the ability to inspire, empower, foster environments of self-confidence, passion, and above all, nurturance. But it could also be just the complete opposite. Henry Adams says that a teacher affects eternity. We can never tell where his influence stops. Now, who are we? Who are we as teachers? If you remove the title of teacher and educator, aren't we just individuals like you and me who have our own ambitions, we have our own aspirations, we have our own dreams, and maybe, and of course, we hope, and we have a curiosity of life for life, and an innate passion for something. And I hope teaching is one of them. Now, why do these individuals end up being teachers and influencers? Well, most of us are women in this field, maybe because it's the best thing for a girl to do, or we're waiting to get married, to chalo teacher ban jao, or maybe kuch nahi ban saka, so chalo let's become a teacher. It could be one of them. But in that journey, some of us find that we're good at it and we become committed to it. We begin to value that what we are doing, the difference that we are making in a child's life, and then we stick on and our commitment grows. And to that commitment, if we add compassion, understanding, exploring, and supporting each other. And that we add a program which looks after our personal, professional development as well as a personal. And why personal? Because a teacher a professional at the end of it is an individual. And every individual values their personal development as much as their both side and outside. And when the teacher becomes more engaged, the teacher will become more enthusiastic to deliver. And more creative in a means of delivery.
Jasmeet, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry. So I think we lost Purnima ma'am. She still shows here. Let us just see if we can get her back. Shripat, should we go for the next speaker?
We can move ahead with Sujata ma'am.
Sure.
I don't know how far technology is going to be in my favor, but yeah. Okay. Should I start? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, good evening, everybody. So this is Sujata Bhan. And now I really don't know from where to begin. I want to start with a story which many of you may have already heard. But that story makes a lot of difference to me, a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to share it with you. Once there was a guy standing at the shore of a beach, and he was, in front of him, there were a whole lot of fishes on the seashore. And they were brought towards the seashore with a big sea wave. And he was picking up each one of them one at a time and trying to revive life in them by shoving them back in the sea. And then there was a passerby who saw him doing this. And he was like, is this man crazy? There are so many, like thousands of fish over there. So he's going to be spending here like all his life to pick up each one of them one by one and put them back in the sea. So he went up to that guy and said, excuse me, I'm quite surprised with what you're doing. I mean, what are you trying to achieve by doing this? There are so many fishes out there. So if you just pick up one and put it back in the sea, what will you achieve? Maybe just save one life, but you will not be able to save all. So this man looked at him and smiled. He said, at least I'll be able to save one life. And that one life is important. So each life matters. I think that's the attitude of a special educator, particularly, and a teacher to have at the back of her mind. That when I'm in the class, I'm able to make a difference, trying to make a difference to each one. But if I can't achieve that, so even if I'm able to make a difference in the life of a handful, a few, I still have achieved something in life, right? So I'm basically training teachers to become special educators. But I strongly believe in inclusive education. It's been now quite a few years since we are trying to move away from special education. Having said that, that does not mean that we don't need special educators, we do not need special schools. It's going to be a parallel system because there will be children who have more support needs, whose needs will not be met entirely in a regular classroom. And also, even if they are in the regular classroom, the class teacher has to take help from a special educator. They have to do the work in collaboration. So special education and special educators are here to stay. At some point, the special educators get very nervous. What's our future? You know, everybody is talking about inclusive education, and now the new education policy also is focusing on education of all disadvantaged children and not keeping children with disabilities separately. So all together. So what is the role of Rehabilitation Council of India? What is the role of special educators? So it's kind of unnerving for them. But the fact of the matter is, what I think the government of India is now taking cognizance of, that it's all about being a good teacher. It's all about having education as a degree where you learn to become a teacher first, and then you specialize, if you wish to, in teaching a child with specific difficulty. That is why they are coming up with this Ministry of Education, which is talking of B.Ed programs, which is a 4-year integrated program. If you have to be a special educator, you have to have a 4-year degree, which includes first subject teaching, first being a regular teacher. And then if you have specialized in any particular disability, which is fine, that gives you the qualification to work with a specific set of students. Now, coming back to what is the status of inclusive education today in our country. I'm sure all of you are aware of the legal mandate. We have the Right to Education Act passed in 2009, under which we had the flagship program of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Then in 2012, there was a special amendment made to this act, which focused on children with disabilities. We were signatories to UNCRPD, the United Nations Convention for Protecting the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. That made it mandatory from the country's point of view that we take this upon ourselves seriously, and we create more laws, create more awareness, and make sure that every child gets education in the choice of their school. And then recently in 2016, we had the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which we call the, historical moment in the field of disability sector, because it should again focus on child's rights to make the choice whether the child wants to study in a regular school or in a special school, the trust being more and more on inclusive education. So when we talk about the legal mandate, it is there. Inclusive education is no longer a matter of choice. That all teachers have to understand. It is here to stay, and we can't shy away from that. Now, really happen. I also want to take a point of view here, a stand here, that let's impose this inclusive education on our teachers. Our teachers are bombarded with so much of work, so much of expectation, so much of administrative responsibilities. Please, let's empathize with them and train them. First, build their capacity to
Looks like net connectivity is
She's
giving
here.
enough time to us.
She's here. 1 second, hold on.
She's on mute.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can.
we can.
Please continue.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please
Okay,
continue.
okay. I just went out for a minute. I think I'm back. Okay, so yeah. So what I feel is, you know, what we saw, there was a study done on the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. The program went off very well initially, and then we said, let's check whether it's really being fruitful or not. The study revealed that more often than not, children with disabilities were enrolled in the schools, but they were not present in the classrooms. Particularly in the interiors of any state, the children were not really attending the school, but on paper, enrollment increased. So all those out of class, out of school children, they were brought back in the classroom, but they were not really attending the classes. Those who were attending, many of them come from low socioeconomic strata, so they were going there mostly for the midday meal, but nothing was actually being done with these children. So when we talk about inclusive education, it is when that child with disability is constantly engaged, when he's participating and he's achieving some learning outcomes in the class, then we call it inclusive education. But just by mere physical presence in that classroom, it makes no sense. So again, the questions were asked, is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan really, really effective or not? Okay. So then what was identified was that the teachers lack that capacity. So the thrust has to be on capacity building of teachers. More and more programs need to be created where our mainstream teachers are given that awareness first of what are the various disabilities, what are the implications of those disabilities, and how do we address those disabilities in an inclusive classroom. The more we talk about capacity building, it seems like it's a huge task and the teachers feel intimidated. Will I be able to do that? And sometimes they question, when you have a special educator for this child, why are you thrusting him in my class? So there, that lack of awareness is, you know, the problem, because they don't know that it's not such a big task. It's not such a big deal. The only thing that you have to do is just be sensitive to the needs of this particular child. One thing which I want to reiterate and highlight here is that not all children are severe when it comes to their special needs. Most of them have such needs which can be met by a classroom teacher if she makes slight adaptation, slight modification, slight change in teaching pedagogy. A lot can be achieved. A simple example like taking support from peers, what we call buddy system, peer tutoring, it really works. A lot of research has been done, and the schools which practice that, they can vouch for it, and it's not such a big deal. So to have the right attitude, to have that willingness and that belief that inclusive education is not something like what we, you know, in cliche form say, it's not a rocket science. It is just making those small adjustments which will come only when you believe in it. See, inclusion is not a black and white or right and wrong. It's not like that. It's a continuum, you know. You have to take steps, one thing at a time. What do I do to help this child in my class? And if we focus so much on disabilities, then we get stuck. Oh, but I don't know Braille. I don't know sign language. How do I manage this child, right? We don't have to focus on specific disabilities. We have to focus on diversities in the class. And in each and every class, you will find there are so many diversities. Some children come from a different background, so the language that you use in the class, maybe they find it hard to understand. So sometimes you're expected to switch to a language that the child understands. That is the reason why now the new education policy, the national education policy is focusing on teaching in mother tongue. Some of them laugh it off. Oh my God, how are you going to teach a child in the class in his mother tongue when you have so many children? Somebody may be having Marathi as the mother tongue, the other child has Gujarati as a mother tongue. How will you manage that? But if our orientation is such, if we are willing to make those changes, we'll say, okay, I don't have to maybe perhaps take the entire class in Marathi, but if a child is struggling, I can just go up to the child and explain the concept to him in the language that the child understands, right? So what I'm trying to say here is the first thing is to have the right attitude. Then the second is to become aware. And the third thing is to have that willingness to learn. If you're willing to learn, if you're willing to find the answers yourself, if you can't, then collaborate with somebody, find answers by speaking to people who know, going for such professional development programs, getting equipped with the knowledge. You will be able to manage most of the children in the class. You'll be able to engage. You can come up with variety of things, just a little bit of creativity. After having that desire, just to have a little bit of creativity, you can bring magic in the class. To begin with, I think that's what I want to say. And we've seen with, year after year, we churn out so many students, and many of our girls are working in inclusive classrooms. And they see that there is a beautiful marriage between a special educator and the regular classroom teacher. Where we see that camaraderie, where we see that trust in each other, that's where we see inclusion works. But where we have ego issues, where you do not want to collaborate, where everybody thinks, I know more than you, which does happen, that's where it will not work. So I think this is the time when the teachers come forward, they're ready to learn, they're ready to join hands with special educators are more important than the other. Everybody feels equal, we are all on the equal footing. It's not the regular teachers feel
Nidhi, I think we lost her. Unmute yourself.
I think bandwidth is the issue. That is what she's been saying all the time, Sujata ma'am. If we can reconnect with her, it would be great. Till then, as she just mentioned that, creativity and magic in the classroom that is something with these two words, I would like to connect back with Purnima ma'am, because that is what you have been always doing it in your classroom. So Purnima ma'am, can we have the continuation of yours to go ahead?
Right.
Your school has been amazing in this.
Sorry, again, I was lost and again I'm back. So I think I will take a pause here and I'll come back once we have discussion, then we can again come back. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine, Sujata ma'am. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So can we have Purnima ma'am to continue?
I suppose this is the new normal. We get off and we get on, and
yes.
We'll have to live with it.
Absolutely.
Like I said that, yes. So continuing with what I was saying, that Patrick, Hisley and Kempler in 2002 found, I think I've gone through this, that happier teachers make happier students, and passionate teachers make passionate students. And like Grace Sirocco says, I liked it, passion, pass I on. As teachers, this is what we are passing on to our students, thus the future generation. Can teachers influence and inspire? Well, Molly Abraham influenced and inspired Ganesh Kohli. I'd like to say, read out to you what William Arthur Ward had said. Mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. And that's what Molly Abraham did. She inspired and influenced Ganesh Kohli. Well, a teacher influences by what is said and unsaid, what choices she or he makes, and by his or her actions. Molly Abraham chose to scaffold the weaker children in her class. With her compassion and understanding, she made the 7th standard weak child who grew up to be an influencer himself and counseled thousands of other students worldwide. Well, I continue with the influence of teachers, because here we're talking about empowerment of teachers. And Dr. Haim Ginot, he so eloquently put it. I quote, "I've come to the frightening conclusion that I'm the decisive element in the classroom. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, I possess a tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor. I can hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, or a child humanized or dehumanized." That's how powerful we are. So, a teacher's influence goes beyond the classroom. Students look at them for guidance as a role
I think she's lost again.
model, as an expert, as an educator, in the building up and the professional and the personal development of these individuals. The role of the school is very pivotal, and it must prepare and support these powerful individuals who are our teachers, because they are entrusted with the huge responsibility of shaping the students and who they become in life. So the teacher educators in the training colleges and the mentors in the schools play a significant role in ensuring support to these individuals, which is safe and confidential, and in the journey unlock the possibility of the individual teacher. Today, as you know, technology and automation has taken over. And you know what has happened just now with technology. But we need to return to the fundamentals of humanity, to learn to understand and act upon what differentiates all of us, and to use it to connect with each other more deeply. For this, we need a strong partnership between the teachers and their mentors, who address the teacher first as an individual, second as a teacher, and third as an influencer. And if we need to take one teacher at a time. So in conclusion, I would say that if we empower the people we put and keep in our education system, then, and be the best version of themselves, then we will bring the soul back into the school. We will bring engagement into education, love back into learning, create healthy families, schools, community, and finally a healthy world. Well, you all must have gone through that WhatsApp message. What does the teacher make? And somebody said so many dollars, somebody said so many rupees, and then the teacher said, Mrs. Sharma, something says, I make CEOs, I make doctors. Well, what do teachers make? I would like to say they make a difference. May we have more Molly Abrahams in the world, and may her tribe increase. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Purnima ma'am, for this lovely insight. And the word that you mentioned is about the humanity, fundamentals of humanity that we need to get back to. And I think it is equally important when we are talking about special needs, inclusive education. So Sujata ma'am, would you like to step in here and say something about it?
See, again, as I said, I'll reiterate the same thing, even in present times. Now, let's look at the present situation in this pandemic. Now, the teachers came forward like nobody else. We've been talking about the doctors and the BMC, but what about the teachers? They adapted so quickly to the situation. Most of us, even till today, I'm not tech savvy. I bank on my colleagues for helping me out, but we still adapted. And all school teachers, the way so quickly they adapted and tried to reach out to all their children. But I think we should also look at the situation both ways. Not let's try to be, that utopian view that everything is hunky-dory and all our children are benefiting from the situation. I believe that we must also look at the situation very realistically. If you ask me, I'm just praying when the situation ends and when our children get back to the class, because all said and done, the technology can only aid. We cannot bank entirely on technology when we are talking about now 60% or 70% of education should be given online with our school children, and particularly our children with special needs who need that physical touch, who want to see their children, their teachers in front of them, who want to see their peers around. That social interaction is so important for them. That routine is so important for them. So this online learning doesn't go a long way for them. See, what are we talking about? When we focus on online learning, the focus of this education, this e-learning, is to make children independent learners, right? When we look at a regular class, I would say, yes, go for it, but not completely. I still don't think it should be done like completely only e-learning, right? They need to be in the class. But now I'm focusing on our children with special needs. How many of them are going to be able to become independent learners? A minuscule of them. What happens to the other lot of children who need, as I said, that physical presence of their teacher in front of them, who need that one-on-one interaction? What happens to that child?
True.
Inclusive online learning is not going to go in a long way, even right now. I would say not doing anything at all. So at least we are doing something with the children. Yes. It's fine. But to expect that an inclusive online class is going to be beneficial in the long run, it is difficult. That child does need that individual attention. How much of individual attention can you give in a 30-minute class where you have 40 kids? I'm again going with a smaller number on your Zoom class or Google class or anything, any such platform. How much of individual attention can you give?
Yeah,
And
I agree. It is difficult.
It's very difficult. And the kids are so smart. They just turn off their video. They turn off their microphone. And they're not there even in front of you. So how do you control that? They're listening to you. Right. I have seen that in my own family with my sister's grandchildren. One is 5, the other is 15. They just, I don't even want to say what they're doing with their online classes, and they're studying in most reputed schools of the town. They just do their own thing. Oh, it's so boring. And I see the teacher, she's struggling. She knows all the eyeballs of the parents are on her. So she's really so energetic and trying to be as creative as she can be. But because she is not having that eye contact, she doesn't know what the child is doing on the other side.
But this is where... sorry to interrupt, but this is where I would say the teachers are really empowering themselves.
Yes.
And they are putting in their best efforts.
Marks to the teachers.
Yes,
I give 100 marks to the teachers. Hats off to them. That's what I said. How they adapted. Who's giving them? They have
already adapted, yes.
They have adapted themselves.
Already adapted themselves to the new normal.
Training, madam? Nobody's organized any training workshops for them.
Correct.
I'm running a small center in my department for special children. Have I given them any training? No.
Correct.
They're just learning by themselves from their peers, from their, just anybody. Yeah. Even we are doing the same. We ask each other and we just learn. So they have risen to this occasion so beautifully. So really hats off to them. But is it the best arrangement? No. Is it going to, benefit our children? Very well, no. Particularly our children with special needs. I am just praying, and it has so many other implications also. The parents are not paying the fees. I don't know what the scene is in many regular schools, but I've heard even in regular schools with online teaching, parents are not willing to shell out the same fees which they were paying otherwise.
Correct. I agree with you, but I think here I'll have to interrupt because that is a little drift from the topic with the fees and all, if we can talk about.
Yes.
So what you mentioned about empowering of the teachers as the teachers have adapted themselves to the new situation. And while on this, I would like Navjot to come in and share her perspective from the point of the school owner. Can I have it from you, Navjot?
Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. It's evening in India. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not an educator. My background is in finance, and my background is in finance, and I worked for NGOs. I was born in India, and I came to England when I was 16 years old, having spent most of my adult life in England and having no relations left in India. I wanted to keep my contact with the country. So education was the one thing that I felt was a medium that I could sort of do to keep myself rooted and be part of the country that I belong to, really. Having gone through the education system myself in India and Calcutta, and then my own children gone through the education system in UK, I realized the best of both worlds, what it had to offer. I had a great education in Calcutta, and my kids had great education in UK. But the teaching methods were very different, and we had inspirational teachers as well. And I also always felt that in rural India, it was lagging behind in a good quality school. I mean, we have very good quality schools in major cities, even in cities in Punjab. But where we are based in Nur Mahal, which is a small town, our school now sort of provides service to children from 27 different villages, and the network is growing. The need to take that education to that part of the world so that our kids can have that access to the same kind of education, because education is forever evolving and moving, and what education was even 10 years ago or even pre-COVID in February has changed significantly. And what it has highlighted again, the COVID-19 has highlighted again, is the digital divide, that the rich and the poor, rural and the semi-rural areas are sort of significantly impacted by this. This whole, our visions, me and my partner, Mr. Varun Deep Singh, we both, as a founding director of AI International School in Nur Mahal, our vision was to take a good quality education to the part of the world where it's not really available. And to provide the resources where each child has the opportunity to thrive. But that vision can only be delivered through our teachers. And they are the ones who are sort of carrying our vision and trying to deliver it, which is a very challenging thing for them to do as well. Because what I found with our experiences was that, firstly, the quality of teachers we were getting in our school, especially in the area, nobody's willing to come from city to teach there. So we had no choice but to get teachers from our local areas. Most of the teachers come with the paperwork which has the qualification, but what kind of training did they have to get that qualification? Which was questionable. But nevertheless, these young individuals, they are older individuals, or some of them who've been teachers for a long time, do not have any CPD available to them. So that was the other challenge. And so that's how I met Neethi, because we were trying to introduce a different way of, again, if you want to bring in a new method of teaching into that area, parents are not educated enough to accept that. They only understand a certain way of education. So when you try to introduce learning through play, they were like they were complaining, like, we send our kids and all they do is come and play and not learning. They can't write ABC, and they want them to write ABC in the age of 3. So to educate the parent is the first step. before we educate the child. So, so our journey is very different to some of the schools which are set up in cities. And our school, the school we set up was mainly not just for the students, but for the community. So I really believe that not just teachers, but all staff play important role in development of a child. Once the child comes in, get on the bus, from our bus driver to our cleaners, to our didis who are serving them with water and tea, to our teachers, they all have a role to play. So we try to treat them all equally and provide them with a platform where they can have access to some kind of development. And even our staff are growing with us, it's not our children. So, I mean, for us as a management, I think this topic about teacher empowerment, I mean, I definitely sort of agree with the previous speakers about the value of teachers, and they have the power to change the course of life of the student. But as a management, it's our responsibility to ensure that our teachers are properly supported. They are, you know, that their needs are met and they are empowered to deliver, so that we are not trying to always sort of criticize them and say, do this way, that way, because they're the one who know what they're doing. They are provided with the opportunity to learn, so platforms like this, and also they are paid properly, because, you know, this is a very important profession. Until and unless the salary matches that, nobody's going to do their job properly. They will come and do half-heartedly if you give them half-heartedly pay. So I think that's one thing that also we found as a management very sort of challenging in the area, that staff are not paid very well in that part of the world. So yeah, for us, those challenges exist in terms of teachers. First, getting access to good teacher. Secondly, to have a professional development center or a training center which provides the relative training for the teachers. And also where the education systems are changing so fast. And like the previous speaker was talking about how quickly teachers have adapted. I mean, that's one thing, if COVID has shown all of us, that human ability to adapt and change when push comes to shove, we can all do it. And I'm really, really grateful for that. But it's also highlighted like I said, the digital divide, because most of our students in rural areas don't have access to devices. So they are still missing out. So it's always the poor who suffer the most when it comes to anything, even pandemic. So, so yeah, I mean, I won't say much more than that, but I'm just here to learn and connect with other people. So any questions, please do feel free. Thank you.
Questions maybe we will address at the end of the sessions that we get from the participants. And then Jasmeet, can I request you to take over further?
Thank you, Neeti, and thank you, Navjot. You know, it was Swami Vivekanand who said, if the poor can't come to the education, take the education to the poor. And that's what you actually have done. And we need more people like you, and we would love to collaborate with more of you to actually work at this project. And that's been the core for our ITG coming up together. I would take another avid learner who I met a couple of years ago, and she has been a true inspiration for me. So I introduce you Geeta Punjabi, and Geeta, I would request you to take over from here. You need to unmute yourself, Geeta. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jasmeet, for introducing me with your kind words. Even you have been a great inspiration for me. And folks, it's thank you for coming, taking out your time and discussing with us and listening to us. We are so grateful to all of you. Now, I just put a question. Who does not know Microsoft? Do you all know? If there would be no Microsoft, would be teaching possible today without Microsoft? And without teachers, there was no Microsoft possible. Tell me why. This is what Bill Gates says. Bill Gates, everybody knows, was a college Harvard College dropout. But still, he says that if it was not for my maths teacher and for my music teacher, I wouldn't be what I am today. And there would be no Microsoft. So all the credit goes to the teachers. They are the teachers who are the makers of this world. And we at Theo Kids, through my organization, are trying to do the same work to empower teachers so that they empower the country, they empower the world. So professional development is the cornerstone for quality education to be realized in every organization, and the teaching fraternity is no exception to the rule. Teachers always need to have new knowledge and applied competence. And with the onset of the modern curriculum, learners, we are expected to be active participants in the classroom. The teacher's role is more of a facilitator, more of a friend to promote teaching. Hence, professional development is focuses on the whole range of knowledge, skills, and attitude required to educate learners effectively. It is the participation of educators in the developmental opportunities in, in for them to be better equipped with knowledge and skills. So why it is so important for the quality of good quality of teachers? Because good quality of teachers influences the good quality of learners. There's a very, very deep connection between them, as everybody knows. So this needs to be prioritized within the education system because it's important to improve and enhance the knowledge and skills. This raises the overall quality of the education systems. And CPD, that is continuous professional development, is very, very essential. And through Theo Kids, we are trying to do this in many ways. Like, for example, workshops, conferences, consultations, coaching, peer coaching, expert coaching, and courses which can be used to enhance the existing professional qualifications. CPD activities further also consist of demonstrations of peer observation, mentoring, induction of beginner teachers, job rotation, teamwork, group work, clustering of schools and global school visits, as well as designing, executing school improvement projects, lesson studies, reflective supervision, and technical assistance. Now here I recommend, and I have been telling schools also to implement these four methods of four methods for the enhancement of the learning knowledge. First is cooperative learning. Now friends, what is cooperative learning? Cooperative learning is a teaching method where students of mixed levels of ability, here comes the children with disabilities and the normal children, are arranged into groups and rewarded according to the group success rather than a success of an individual member. Collegial learning teachers teaching other teachers within the group programs, institutions, and universities. So here, collegial collaboration is the cooperative relationship of the colleagues working jointly in an intellectual endeavor for these special children. And these children with disabilities and with cooperative learning, the mainstream teachers along with the shadow teachers and the other teachers can create real magic, as my other counterparts previously has said. And friends, the third part what I had told you was cascade method, and collegial collaboration with great people happens with great people who are able to work with each other, shedding their ego aside. Cascade method is to drive specific knowledge into an organization. It is taught by a staff member, spreads powerful message and alignment within the organization. And the fourth method I really love, it is the generation method. It is for the method for the millennials, to teach kids to be entrepreneurial thinkers, resourceful problem solvers, competent of technology, provide opportunity for multitasking environment, and provide clear objectives and standard, and incorporate technology and structured environment. So he who fails to plan is planning to fail, is the famous saying of Mr. Winston Churchill. Technology is making all skills obsolete. So the teachers need to remain updated to empower these both children, build personal relationships, active, passionate core groups needed to be created, forums need to be done for thinking together, as well as systems for sharing information have to be established. Collaboration helps to prevent teachers working in isolation in schools, and when they interact with more people, more knowledge and skills are acquired, and thus helping them sharing of qualitative research data and effective participation, and as Purnima ma'am said, bringing magic in the class. And it is a real marriage of the mainstream teachers and the shadow teachers and the teachers teaching learning disabilities. So here I end saying that empowering teachers is results in empowering children. In empowering children results in empowering the nation. And in empowering the nation results in empowering the world. So friends, let's work towards it. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta, so much. And it's true. It was actually Nelson Mandela who said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And COVID has been like a disruptive idea with us. It has actually opened our minds to think of what we could do as teachers and as school heads. How could we change? How could we get into this new zone and still make learning fun for our children? The next speaker that we have is Fatima. She's an excellent example of how she has changed the education system over the years, working as a trustee, as an advisor, as a principal. So I welcome Fatima to share her experience with us.
Thank you so much. It was quite inspiring to listen to everyone, and happy Teachers Day. Love the fact that we have an audience from all over the world. Everyone in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, whoever's tuned in, lovely to have you join us. This might just get India focused, but I think education, as the pandemic has taught us, is now a global phenomena. It's not only India that did not have connectivity. It's charter schools in America, it's issues all over the world where there were connectivity issues. I'm just going to actually be the naughty kid in the class. And I'm going to say, perhaps we should have done a little more. So today's topic is about empowerment, right? If you actually talk about the last 20 years, did we do enough? I know as a trustee, I've sat on the opposite side and I promoted teacher training. I think Navjot beautifully said, I've hired too many of those teachers. Picture perfect on paper, unfortunately not inspiring. And sorry, I didn't have a Molly Adams in my life. I had a very, very uninspiring math teacher. I've done my MBA in finance, but that was self-learning. So a large part of why I'm in education is to make sure, like a lot of us today, to correct that, to make sure that every child has the opportunity. I may not be the best at math, but it is important for us to learn. It is important for us to understand. And teachers, if you have tuned in, empowering yourself is because learning is not a subject matter expertise anymore. Even if you're a math teacher, You need to have language capabilities. You need to have a science orientation. You need to understand sport. You need to understand EQ. You're basically a CEO. Did we do enough in the last 20 years? I think we were caught out. We spoke about this in educational conferences, about this, volatile world. We were all talking about disruptions, etc. Did we equip ourselves? No, we didn't. Did we skill ourselves with technology? No, we didn't. Did we understand this whole world where we would have to work with subjects not in isolation? No, we didn't. Sorry, Sujata, I'm going to say that it is possible to personalize on technology with the breakaway sessions. Zoom has a lovely option as well. I think teachers, what we didn't do is research. And that has been my biggest regret, because for the last 20 years, if there's one thing we could have done, is not waited for the management. I mean, thanks to people like Navjot, she supports professional development, but we wait for the PDs to happen. It's about self-learning. If you want to be that teacher, if you want to really make that impact so that someone tomorrow who is worth $1 billion remembers you, will appreciate that, you're going to have to do this on your own. So this is what the pandemic has taught us. We can sit back and say, the world is such and we have to cope with it. Well, we have to cope with it. Pittman actually introduced remote learning 2 centuries ago. It was only in 2000 that some of the progressive schools in the world talked about technology. Technology for me is not teaching online. Technology is about understanding how to capture the information. I can still see 30 kids online and work out, why are they shutting the camera off? Either I'm super boring, either I've stretched that content beyond imagination. I cannot do what I did in the physical world online. So what am I doing to improvise? What am I doing to change the narrative? What am I doing to make sure their cameras are online? And I've seen a lot of progressive schools where a lot of the teachers are able to hold children's attention. They're polling with kids. They have mock trials. They have case studies. They're doing they're doing field trips. They're connecting with different schools. Where someone in the United Kingdom is actually talking to someone in Jalandhar and bringing a world together because they were talking about climate changes. I think teachers empowering yourself is not going to be someone else's problem. It's also going to be what you will initiate. What can you do to improve yourself? You really, I think everyone's explained how you need to be that inspiration. But how do you do it? You're going to have to research. You're going to have to read. Sorry, and this is my finding. That's my research in the last 20 years in this industry. And I've set up, close to 45 schools across the country, in every city, in remote places as well. The one thing we don't do as educators is read ourselves. We are so fixated about what is in that textbook that we don't even go beyond. Look at what the other industries are doing. Learn from them. Social media is not about Insta putting pictures. I learn, and I'm a huge, I'm very, I use social media extensively, but for me, Insta is about science feed. Download that. It'll be amazing information that comes your way. So don't associate professional development with some workshop that you have to take on. That will happen. That's going to be part of your PD. Now academic boards, national education policy is talking about it. What can you do beyond to make it different for your children? You will want to do this if you read enough, if you are inspired enough. And I'm going to say that, we keep talking about this, saying, no one appreciates us. And, I think someone mentioned about, parents not understanding how hard we work. Did we communicate as well? did we? So Navjot mentioned a very important point. It is going to be about orienting the parents. Have you looked at the syllabus? Are you okay with what you're teaching? If you are not, either you improvise and either you find strategies to teach it better, or raise your hand and say, why am I doing this? Am I just transferring knowledge? By the way, this is a very evolved generation. I have a 15-year-old and I can tell you, they're very smart. I was just telling my son today, you know what, there was an earthquake. I think it was 4.2 on the Richter scale. In 30 seconds, he's told me it was only 2.2, which is why we didn't feel the tremor, by the way. So unless we're please understand, this is a generation that's very different from how we grew up. Gospel truth was whatever our teachers told us. This generation is going to question. So let's not challenge that. Let's try and improvise. Let's understand how they learn. Let's move away from our baggage. Let's make it relevant. Sorry to say, national education policy is also talking about core subjects, finally. It's not talking about quantum. It's now talking about understanding. It's actually talking about children learning so that they can apply. I think it's about time we empower ourselves by research, by logging in, by collaborating. I think the one thing that the pandemic, and I'm very positive about the pandemic, the one thing the pandemic has taught us is the collaboration across the world. Today, Navjot's here. The next speaker is from Canada. We're able to do that. What is holding us back from sharing information? Have a look at Facebook, guys. Log on to those Facebook groups, I beg your pardon, and you will find a wealth of information, provided you are inspired to do that. Yes, I run a teacher training institute, so I'm going to say that, this would be a sell for me. But I often tell managements, don't do this. I don't want a bunch of teachers who are there because it's a certificate that they get at the end of the day. For me, it's about relevance. What did you take away from that workshop? What will you do as soon as you leave the workshop and go into that classroom? That's the difference. You can listen all you want. Unless you're going to implement it, I'm not sure we're going to make that difference. You know what? The world of tomorrow is going to be as volatile as we've experienced it. And I'm telling you to think to 2080, not just the next decade. Blended learning is here to stay. We're going to embrace a lot of the technology, but it is not about simply being used to Google or Meets. It's about what you will do to change the narrative. Empowering is actually your strength. You're that superhero because you empower yourself. Don't depend on anyone else. And that was simply my message for you.
You are mute, Haya.
I got that. Thank you so much, Fatima. And yes, you were the naughty kid who actually disrupted teachers for thinking about, is it the responsibility of the school or is it self-responsibility to empower ourselves? And I think it is. The onus is both ways. We need to think about how I can empower myself as a teacher, as well as, yes, even the schools and the education institutes have a responsibility to ensure that their teachers are trained and up to date with technology. So going forward, we have Sunita Krishnan from Canada. She runs a play school and a daycare center in Canada. She has a chain of them. And she shares her experience of what it is in India as well as in Canada. So welcome, Sunita.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to be part of the organization that you guys have just come up with. I think it's an amazing opportunity. And like the previous speaker just spoke, coming together and collaborating is the way to go. We all have different models. We all follow different pedagogies in different parts of the world. Me being in Toronto, Canada, we have our Ontario's pedagogy that we follow. So everybody has their own ways of, dealing with their institutions, but coming together, working together is the way to go. So talking about empowerment, empowerment is a very relative term. that's how I believe in, because it's not about one individual being able to do it. I think it's teamwork, because teachers, unfortunately, people don't understand the stress that a teacher goes through. Especially in our industry, I work with children from 12 months all the way to school age. It's a very challenging day for a staff. And we don't realize that what if they, maybe they've had a bad day, or maybe they didn't have a great weekend. So a lot of stress is already going on in your staff's life, and they come to work with the same stress. So I think teamwork plays a very important role. That's how you inspire your staff. I step in. So when I see that there is a little bit of a chaos in the program, my teachers are not doing the best that they are supposed to do, I jump in. This is how I feel I'm able to empower them, by respecting that they're going through something right now and stepping in and saying, okay, guys, just go for a tea break. I'll be part of the program for that 15 minutes. Inspires my staff to understand that they're not alone. They're together, we're with them, and gives them the motivation to enjoy the profession that they've chosen. So for me, I feel teamwork plays a very important role, and the support that they need should be given to them at a point of time. So the management should work together with their staff and help them, achieve their goals as well. Talking about the inclusion, today we live in a setting where inclusion plays a very important role, and I feel that it is the way to go, because the four steps of the foundations that we follow in Ontario is how does learning happen, which is our pedagogy. So the four steps, and one of the foundation is belonging. So the sense of belonging, when a special need child is all inclusive into our program, that itself makes the child feel that they belong. So that eliminates a lot of stress already for the child. We don't understand that children go through their own stress as well. They see, I have experienced this with my preschool setting, that I've had a child with a speech delay. And when he would hear other children speak so well, but he's not able to speak, it's creating a stress in that child. So working with the child and giving him that inclusive environment promotes overall development in the child. That's what I believe in. And we've been successfully able to cater to many families because the Ministry of Education and CCEYA Act that we follow in this part of the world, we promote inclusion. We give parents the opportunity and the children the opportunity to be part of our team and come together and to work together in a successful model. Empowering teachers, to me, would be, like I said, teamwork. And the other important topic that I think the other speakers spoke about is the pay scale. Unfortunately, I went to India last year, and I visited a few schools my friends were running, and it's a shock to see what they get paid. So, I mean, motivation comes with incentives. We all need perks. We all want a better standard of living. We all want to better our life. And that is a human psychology. That is what we go to school for. We want to better ourselves. I migrated to Canada. I came here for a better life. Not that I didn't have a good life in India, but I came for a better standard of living. So everybody goes through that, and everybody has that. So empowerment is also giving him the support. I think we are very blessed here in this part of the world that the government takes childcare as one of their priorities. And we get a lot of grants and funding from the government, which gives them the wage subsidies, which gives them the enhancement in their wages, which gives them the you're stress free. So as Ms. Purnima mentioned, happy teachers, happy students, and happy students, moves forward with a happy nation. So I think that is what it should be. We should look at the grants, the pay scale for our teachers, and empower them to understand that they are in a profession and they're here to make a difference and they're here to make a change. And with the pandemic, the one good thing that has happened is we've all actually come on a standstill. The regular life just stopped for everybody. Getting up in the morning, grabbing your coffee, you got your coffee mug, you're out to work, came to a standstill. Gave us a time to self-evaluate. Me as an operator running 3 locations in Toronto, I was able to say stop and think. How can I better my program? When I go back, what am I going to offer my staff? So coming with an action plan, putting a goal in front of you, coming with and then able to implement it is the way to go. So always self-assess yourself. You need to always, the self-assessment tool is very important. So think about it. Think about how you can better, your program. What kind of support can you achieve to better your program? Research. So all these things put together is, is how we need to move forward. Come together as a team, collaborate, and plan and implement for a better future for our children. Thank you.
That has been really great, Sunita, from your side. As you have worked with, you're in Canada, you're already working and running this a big show out over there. And plus you have seen the Indian scenario as well. So to now move ahead, I would just like to have a couple of questions. We have been facing challenges when it comes to continuous professional development, which all of us have been seeing. Now, this is what I would like, Fatima, if you can share your inputs on this, that whenever it comes to professional development, what challenges do you face when you especially go to the schools as the consultant?
Okay, so you're going to really put me on the spot now. And, and I'm going to be very, very honest, and I hope a lot of the school owners will hear this. This comes very low in the pecking order. I don't think they attach enough importance to it, simply because, infrastructure mein dal denge, we'll put up a marketing budget, social media, communications. When I look at it, it's very low on the pecking order, and that also a limited budget. Also, it's a big challenge simply because you want to put everyone together. For teacher training to be effective, you need to understand the gap. Every teacher doesn't need to be in that workshop. I think we have to move away from our age-old traditions of standardization. The National Education Policy is talking about it, to now customization. I mean, we talk about differentiation in our classrooms, but we don't do that with the teachers. Some need perhaps assistance with subject matter delivery. Some need assistance with just communication. Some are very, very incapable of being emotionally connected with students. So that teachers have different needs. And I think that has been my challenge, that managements do not understand what the problem is. They want whole school workshops. I'm sorry to say it's mandated to have professional development. It's not because you want to improve. I think the overall cultural mindset needs to change. I think we need to borrow something from the corporate world and recognize that if we have to create happy children, and if we are nurturing the future of any country, we need to therefore be equipped. The medical fraternity has that. They upskill themselves every year. Every other industry seems to be doing that. Ours takes it as some sort of policy decision. That's not going to work. So that it is largely driven with the mindset issues. I mean, everyone, quite frankly, I think someone just mentioned it about every school wants numbers. You've put up a lot of investment. People want children. Unfortunately, it is not about infrastructure. It is not about the glamour of the surrounding. It is going to be the soul of the school, and the soul of the school is the teacher. So if I am inadequate in some way, and I'm saying that, with all humility, I may not have all the answers. I need guidance. I need support. So that's where that's the big part. But again, I'm going to bring that point out, Nitika. You can't always wait for someone else to help you. I think some of it you can do it. And today, thanks to the pandemic, and I keep saying that, A lot of it is available, cost effective. There are lots of organizations. There's a lot of collaboration worldwide. Do you desire enough to upgrade? That's the question.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
So would any other panelists like to add to this? Yeah, Geeta, just unmute yourself.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, Geeta, go ahead.
So, I feel that even teamwork plays a very big role. So we should initiate more of teamwork and collaborative work in the school, which will really promote professional development, and a lot of empathy and support between teachers should increase. And also, teachers should not be accountable for many roles. If you give one teacher many roles, it becomes she doesn't specialize in any one thing. So the school shouldn't put excessive paperwork, excessive other roles, and one teacher is doing multifarious roles, even as a receptionist, even as taking admissions and again teaching. That has to be reduced, and there should be a proper connect. And as Fatima said, she was very right. Every teacher needs to educate herself also, but she should receive proper academic technological knowledge also, both from the organization also and by herself also. So what happens, even me as a consultant, we go to schools, they spend enormous amounts of money on everything else, as Fatima said, but when it comes to selection of teachers, they tell me, when you recruit, you just see that the pay should not be more than 6,000 or 7,000. Now at 6,000, at 7,000, how teachers you can get quality teachers? Because the quality teachers or the quality candidates then definitely would not like to work as teachers and would like to work somewhere else where they are also paid good remuneration. So that's a very important point, that remuneration has to be seen, and quality atmosphere has to be given to the teachers. Professionally also they should be happy, and monetarily also they should be made happy. That's my take.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to add?
Can I add something?
Please, Purnima ji.
Okay.
And Navjot to you.
I'm from the early childhood background, so I'd like to speak from there that whether we really think CPD always gives a very good factor, a good feeling to the teacher, but are we giving them enough incentives for the teacher? If she's interested in doing something, say in the language, development of language skills or the arts, does the teacher get any financial support from an institution? If what Geeta just said, 6,000 rupees, does she really have to shell out from that meager salary that she gets? And if she does not get any financial support, then it restricts all these professional development, restricts it only to those who can afford it. And if she does spend, or if the institution does spend, and she enhances her skill, will she be allowed to practice what she has learned? Will she have that freedom? Now, there are many franchisee schools we know. They give them a curriculum, a syllabus, minute to minute. Where does it give the teacher freedom to innovate? And then finally, I feel even the mindset of the teachers. Well, they do not understand the importance of CPD. So there we need good mentors in the school who will motivate them to go for CPD. Yeah, these.
Thank you, Purnima ma'am. Navjot ji, that's for you now.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to add to everybody else, I think it's about the culture of the school as well. The leadership team in the school is not just the management, it's the leadership team has to be, because they're there with the staff every day. They need to, when you're preparing a timetable of the school for the year, there needs to be a proper slots for training, which I always keep saying to my staff, that where are the training sessions in the school calendar? It's not about just and setting up the right budget within this thing, so that it has to be part of the culture and has to be driven by the staff, and the staff should be empowered enough so they have the confidence to come forward and say, I want to learn this. The culture of the school has to be where people can speak their mind, and only then the children will learn. Children can see that the teachers are happy and they have the power to come and say that I want to learn this. Then the students will learn from that as well, and I think that's the key. And that very much depends on the leadership of the school. They have to create that culture, so that, and then there has to be a lot of peer learning. I mean, a lot of staff have different skills and they can teach each other. And I think that's for me that, and also it's not, I keep coming back to this, and it's about teachers, I know, but all other staff, they have a lot to give too. You know, I have ladies who comes cleaners and stuff, but they have amazing skills and they can sometimes deliver extracurricular stuff as well, and even train them to become teachers. You know, I have had a staff who we have to push for her to then become a teacher. She came in as just an assistant, you know. So those are the opportunities, but people have to be empowered to come forward, and I think that culture is the only thing that will shift. If you change the culture of the school, that's where the learning starts.
Absolutely, Navjot, you're right. And I think we all are aware of the challenges that we have in our Indian education system. Underpaid, overworked, just to start with, more number of children in a classroom, mixed group of children, not enough resources, multitasking. And when you name all of these challenges, I really put a question to all of you. How can we collaborate to make a difference? So who would want to start first? I give the opportunity to you.
I would just like to go back to the CPD training and speak a little bit about that. Sure. With our experiences in this part of the world. So it is a mandatory requirement, as you know, as we all know, that we need.
Sunita, I think you went mute. Sunita, you're mute.
Sunita, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Now you're, yes,
okay.
You are.
Okay. So talking a little bit back, going back to the CPD and the continuous professional development training, as a lot of panelists spoke that, you know, it is a mandatory requirement, we have to do it. But again, going back to the individual, is she doing it because she wants to do it, or is she just doing it to get that certificate? So that is the most important thing that we as management, me as a program director, what I do is I give choices to my staff. I give them the curriculum. I give them the various options that are available, and I ask them to pick and choose. That way I know that they're doing something that is of interest to them. That is something they're just not going to learn, but they're going to come back to the program and actually implement it with the children. Because the bottom line is implementation. You can have all the education, you can have all the certificates on your wall, but unless you implement it, unless you get it in action, it is meaningless to me. So giving them the opportunity to choose the development they want to acquire is the way to go. Secondly, again, I have a lot of staff who come to me and say, Miss Sunita, it's a full day training. I'm going to lose pay. Who's going to reimburse me? This is something that comes to me all the time. And I have to reassure to them, don't worry. I will cover the pay for the day and you can go for your training, learn and come back. I would not, you know, deduct any pay for that day. So giving them that reassurance as well, because for them to lose a day of pay makes a huge dent on their paycheck. So me as a program director, I need to understand that they live on a very tight budget. We all do. And educators, unfortunately, you know, it's not a huge pay scale for them. So living on a budget and losing a day of pay, it's hourly wages in this part of the world. So if they're losing 8 hours of pay, that's a huge dent on their paycheck. So giving them that reassurance that we're with you, go do what you want to do, go educate yourself, get that training, come back, implement it in my program, and I will pay you for the day, goes a long way. And I have been able to successfully carry out the program here by doing this for the last few years. That 15 years of being an entrepreneur, I have realized that being empathetic and coming down to your staff's level and understanding their day-to-day concerns is how you can run a successful program. Thank you.
Thanks, Sunita. So I come back to my question. How can we collaborate?
Well, just me, I think you guys have started this group to start off with, which I think is will prove to be quite invaluable moving forward. You know, being able to connect. This is my first ever exposure to such thing, and I'm already learning a lot from your other panel members, and it's a great opportunity, and I'm sure I'd like to connect this, and also to be able to share, whether it's on this group or however, but whatever works, you know, whatever works for each school. It's good to share rather than reinventing a wheel. Why? If somebody's got a tried and tested method, let's share it. Let's be open about it. So let's share it with others.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah, I also like to say something here. I would also like to say something here after listening to so many co-speakers. I think it stems from the leadership. If the leadership is good, their attitude is good, and they are empathetic towards their staff, the staff will have that trust in you. They will imbibe what you believe in, and they will make a difference. So I think the leadership plays a very, very important role here. Now, just to share our personal experience from SNDT, when we talk about collaboration, I strongly believe in collaboration, and Jasmeet can vouch for that, how we are constantly trying to reach out to mainstream teachers. You know, every program of ours is always open to mainstream teachers. Of course, our special educators will be there because they have those CRE points, so they will come. But to reach out to teachers, the challenge that I face, my numbers are slowly increasing, but I still do not have that many teachers coming for our programs, whether it's a national conference, international conference, so many webinars now, and earlier so many teacher training programs, because somewhere that mindset is there, oh, this is only for special teachers. I don't have a special child in my class. That's why I said earlier, don't focus on a child with a disability per se. Just focus on children who learn differently, right? Focus on their multiple intelligences, focus on their learning styles. Don't focus, oh, I don't have a blind child in my class. So I think this collaboration where we trust each other is very, very important. Now, any mainstream school, if they feel that my teachers need training in a particular thing, they should come to us. Similarly, we should go to colleges which have, you know, regular BA. Okay, train my students in teaching of school subjects, for example, or train my Arushi teachers. We have a center of special children, Arushi. Train my teachers in teaching math to children. So like that, we have to constantly seek that collaboration. And with that attitude, I'm sure we are moving on that in that direction. We have already started moving. This webinar today is an example. So we are trying to join hands, but we have to be more and more open to such collaborations, is what I strongly believe in.
So there's a question which I really want
Yes.
Sujata ma'am to address, and I think it is very relevant in today's time. So
Yes.
why is it the only responsibility of a mainstream teacher? How many special educators are willing to step in and do the needful to support the entire inclusive classroom?
Any school which has already hired special educators, you know, generally the good reputed schools will have 4 or 5 special educators there. And they are collaborating with the classroom teacher. Any school with a resource room model, the special educators and the mainstream teachers are anyway working together. So now it is upon the school's management. Are they going to hire special educators? Are they going to set up a resource room? If yes, then automatically the principal, the management has given the direction to the school and the classroom teachers. Here you have special educators. If you have any problem, collaborate with them, work along with them to meet the need of every single child in your class. And that we do see happening. It is about those schools who are still averse to having children with diverse needs in their classrooms, who do not want to set up a resource room in their school. That's where the problem starts.
And I think there has...
So right now, every management has to accept it, that they need to have... Now, some schools may not have the resources to establish or to set up a resource room. They can still have itinerant special teachers coming in and helping the teacher. There are so many ways. The willingness has to be there. the desire, the belief that yes, we have to help these children has to be there, solutions can be found.
And I think the main,
sorry, Jasmeet, can I just jump in?
Sure.
Having worked with a lot of the schools as well, sometimes I think, there's a lot of desire to do the right thing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, 1 minute, Sujata ma'am. Fatima ma'am is adding here.
I think the point also being is that we need the mainstream teachers to be qualified, equipped to also manage. I've seen a lot of examples where well-meaning, but the strategies have not been effective. That's when you want a specialist. That's when you want a child psychiatrist or a psychologist or a special educator to come in. Because, all the WhatsApp chats, it's like this, the traditions go on. Ye to wahi hoga. Try this. Unfortunately, let's not experiment with these children. I think we also need to work with experts. And I'm so glad Sujata ma'am said that, there's collaboration possible. I don't know if a lot of schools know this. I've hired a lot of teachers from SNDT. I ran a school for special needs myself. So I know that. But I'm not sure this kind of awareness is prevalent today. And I think forums like this, I think social media, I think a lot of us in our diverse roles talking about it, sharing best practices. Now, I think it's about time we come out and say, listen, this worked for me. Try this out. We've hidden ourselves too long. It's about time we come out in the open and share. Navjot said that as well. What's stopping us? What's stopping the leaders from sharing best practices, and what's stopping teachers from doing that? I think teachers are the voice. This worked in my classroom. Guys, you want to try it out? Social media has a lot of importance. We just use it to dish people out. Let's use it positively to share experiences across the globe.
Absolutely, Fatima. And Purnima ma'am has some comments from her side, some suggestions on collaboration.
This is about collaborations. I feel, again, from the early years, that parents have a very, very, very big role to play because they are one result oriented. How much does can my child speak English? What about their numeracy? What about their literacy? And they're totally oblivious of the changes that the school and the teacher brings in the child, the other changes. And so I feel parents do have to be taken into the fold to be collaborators. Along with, like many of my earlier colleagues have said, speakers have said, is the management. Now, they started the school because they have excess money, or because they want to make more money, or they want to have more admissions, or they have the child's development in there as their core, as their goal, as their vision. And if the management is very clear about it and believes in that, then starting from the trustees to the principals, to the whole hierarchy, including the parents, can together empower the teacher. Otherwise, the teacher will remain a pawn in the system. So parents need to be taken into the fold, especially in the early years.
So I think one thing that I can assure everybody that is listening to us, that we'll have a special debate on what is the role of a special educator in a school along with the mainstream teacher. That's for sure is a lot, because that is what we need today to happen. We have less special educators and we have a lot of mainstream teachers, and we want mainstream teachers to understand the children that are there in their classrooms, so that they are more comfortable when they're working in the environment and they understand the child's need and how he needs to learn. So for sure, we will have another session on this, and we thank everybody. And I would ask Vinod to take over to sum up the webinar.
Sure. So I realize that hearing everybody, it's really not easy to be a teacher, and you really have to think one step ahead. Like Fatima said, today's generation they actually want the factual education, and like Navjot said, that they want an correct education. So the other day in my building, I was a small child going with a bag and a bottle in his neck. And I said, Raghu, how do you spell crocodile? A very small child. He said, Krokodial. I said, no, that's wrong. He said, maybe it is wrong, but you asked me how I spell it. So he just zipped my mouth. And Fatima was sharing that today's kids, they off their screen and they just shut the screen with the online classes and everything. So I asked him, what do you call a person who keeps on talking when people are no longer interested? He said, a teacher. So I don't want to be a teacher like that. So we have to really update ourselves and, think 2 steps ahead of the newer generation so that we can teach them well. I really thank everybody, Ms. Poonima Contractor, Dr. Sujata Bhan, Ms. Fatima Agarkar, Ms. Navjot Kaur, Ms. Geeta Punjabi, Ms. Sunita Krishnan. I really thank all of you, the eminent panels of today's webinar. It has been a great session of sharing ideas and discussion. Some thoughts of how we need to think and move ahead has been very valuable. We all at ITG, International Teachers Guild Foundation, express our gratitude and thank the panelists. Thank you, participants. On behalf of ITG, I would like to thank you for attending today's leadership conversations. We hope you had fun and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. So we have a 4-part webinar on various exciting elements on education. Starting from tomorrow, Ms. Nazma Sheikh will talk about humor in classroom. We truly appreciate your support. Please let us know if you have any questions. With this, we end today's webinar. Be safe and be
Thank
healthy.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
For all the participants, we'll be mailing you a feedback form. Please do give us your feedback. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you.
Stay well, everyone. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.